Good morning to all. I want to thank Dr. Conrad for inviting me to come back to CHCH to be part of this graduation, which I'm happy to say is convening. It's always a pleasure for me to participate and acknowledge in the hard work of educating young minds, or rather, guiding, I would say, young minds toward better self-education. Because you will receive a couple of educations or more in your life. One, of course, is through the matriculation into institutions of higher learning, if you are indeed fortunate. And the others will come through you gathering and questioning. And you will find many of other types of education in unexpected places. And hopefully these will enable you to understand better how to move through the body of this world, not as a disease, but as an agent of healing. One constancy which has helped me to do this is a profound engagement with the profound meaning of profound words. This, I believe, has its genesis in this book. This is a dictionary, an actual one. And it was given to me by my uncle when I was on my 7th birthday. If you were here, you'd be able to see that it is particularly well loved, which is why I keep it in plastic. Now, this was an unexpected gift from an unexpected place because my uncle was a drug abuser. Well, he had no money, so he was a junkie, is what we called him at the time. And what he felt was that he had nothing to contribute. And he said something along the lines of, "You seem to be pretty good with them words. I ain't got no use for this. Take it." It took me just over 2 years to read this entire book. And I read it from cover to cover, and I found many profound words with profound meanings. One of them has been on my mind a lot lately. It is the word democracy. Here's the meaning of that word according to this book. It says, government by the people directly through representation. A country with such government. And lastly, and most profoundly, equality of rights, opportunity, and treatment. As I read and engaged more with great words from great minds, many of them American, I came across the works of one Mr. Walt Whitman, poet of American democracy, wrote a book called Democratic Vistas in 1871. Walt Whitman was called up and called forth by a man named Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "Can we have a bard that speaks the truth that this country needs to hear? One that has broken its connection to Europe and can speak to this opening land in which we find ourselves." And Whitman stepped up and said, "I'll take a bit of that." And in his book, Democratic Vistas, he wrote, "I cannot too often repeat that democracy is a word, the real gist of which still sleeps quite unawakened. It is a great word whose history, I suppose, remains unwritten because that history has yet to be enacted." When I read that from Whitman, it hit me that this understanding that words have meaning was wrong. Words do not have meaning. Words have usages. Meaning comes from what we give to those words, how we enact the abstract that these words ask us to enact. So this is a story of where we are and where we could be right now in this place of democracy. In this story, truth is a joke, and democracy is its punchline. In this story, our leaders' mouths are so often dangerous. They wound us until we are gangrenous. So often they disease us, dumb us, numb us into ethical hypnosis and civic sleep. In this story, we see ourselves keeping our ears budded so we can hear the shrill call of blood and soil. We can say we did not hear that. We did not hear the rising white supremacist howl of Jews will not replace us. In this story, we keep our heads down and swear we did not see tiki torches not seeing the night, did not see the police putting holes in all those black boys. Besides, they had it coming. They always have it coming. This is the story in which we continue to other each other, scapegoat one another for our generational failings. This is the story where Congress is Robin Hood, gone wrong, redirecting billions that could have helped the ragged to give to the already rich. In this story, many of us play the oblivious, the ignorant one that ignores, who at this point in the story begin thumbing our screens for distraction, turning up the music to the maximum, pretending not to hear the darkness growling. Yes, brothers and sisters and others, this story is seductive. It doesn't always yell at us, no. Sometimes it whispers in the dark recesses of our minds, saying, "Come, tell me of your prejudices, and I will darken. Come, let my arms harbor and embrace your harms, and I will darken. Come, let me turn those harms into howl and foul you into a whirlwind of machete and bullet, and I will darken." And it whispers until we barely notice how it lives inside us, how it divides us, how it drives us to reduce each other to these thin, stereotyped scrims of race and religion and politics and gender. And sometimes, when someone shows us a mirror, we see our contorted faces, catch ourselves swaying in the spell of it, and we become ashamed and are tempted to run in fear of our own ugly. But we must not run, for we have done that before. For this story is not new. We have lived this before. And we know there has always been those who will always say and live in the darkness of this country. A darkness that has kept us blinded to who we could become. Yet also, we know there have been those who would look into that darkness, cling to each other, and muster the courage to stand against it and dare to speak the light. There have always been those who refuse to play the oblivious, the one who ignores. Yes, there have always been and will always be those who would rewrite themselves as new characters and become she that rises up, he who voices the better angels of our nature, they that demand that our body politic become more, demand that it move toward a more perfect union by fighting the viruses of our worst isms, our sexism, racism, ageism, colorism, culturalism, reductionism, fascism. Those who demand that our nation embraces its better isms, egalitarianism, altruism, volunteerism, humanism, and then further demand that we create and coin other, even better isms, like you have the right to remain black and unkilled ism. You have the right to not be sexually assaulted and harassed ism. You have the right to exist and to thrive ism. You have the right to have your voice heard ism. You have the right to be addressed and treated with dignity and respect ism. I will stop turning my back on your pain ism. I will stand up for the civil and human rights of another ism. Yes, we have always had and will always need those who will work little by little to heal this too wounded nation with the democratized form of love. A love demanding a new patriotism. A patriotism that cannot be stitched into clothing, cannot be made into only a slogan. A patriotism that goes beyond I love America, but one that says I love Americans and one that says I love humanity. A patriotism demanding that we all help all who have fallen on hard times to stand. A patriotism that means caring enough to make sure that a child's hunger goes away so she can sleep at night. A patriotism that knows it's right to ensure that all can afford higher education, knows that a great nation must enrich each citizen intellectually, for to do so effectively raises its people's collective capacity to think and consider critically so that its democracy doesn't fall prey to a clownish and perverted brown-shirted inanity, to a hypnotic and demagogic insanity. A patriotism that is deeper than ham-fisted bluster and swagger, deeper than bullying or surface flag waving, but a patriotism that is a lived civic virtue, demands accountability, demands integrity, is ethically behaving, a patriotism demanding its leaders' allegiance to its nation's people by full-throatedly saying and actively displaying that every American is well worth the effort of saving. And there are times when we are in our better minds, when we can sense it, almost feel it, that nascent flickering of true and active citizenship. Sometimes we glance it like the humped backs of dolphins breaking above the ocean of the civically possible. Hear it through the din and the clatter of the media noise machine, insistently whispering from the sunlit corners of our minds, asking us to wield our social sword and shield and pledge our civic word and will to build and maintain a true republic, a res publica, a thing of the people in which we all can heal. When it calls to you, listen to that voice. It may come to you from unexpected places. Remember it as you begin to write the new narrative of this country, one of inclusion, one in which we embrace self-reflection and introspection, embrace our discomfort to enable equity and a deeper connection so we can honestly listen and open to each other's different perspectives and learn to engage beyond our own political rage so we can practice true democracy. Yes, we need a new narrative, one in which we accept that sharing power empowers us all. A new narrative for a new world in which we break down these walls between us so we can hold hands, heal each other of these broken legs that we've all learned to limp with, and finally move forward together, step by trembling step, into that welcoming, eye-aching light, into a shining America that reflects the best truth of who we know we are, what this country can be: expansive, accepting, beautiful, and bright. Thank you.